Good morning, guys. Welcome, or good afternoon, good evening, depends when you're watching the video. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James, and this is your latest Rangers news. Now, I know this is not Rangers related. I know it's not football related, but I just want to start off by passing on my thoughts, my prayers are with the family of Charlie Kirk today, with his children, his young children. His daughter's 2.5, only 3. His son's only a year old. This man was brutally murdered for having an opinion. And look, I know it's not Rangers related and I know it's not football related, but when people are killed for having an opinion, for expressing their opinion, no matter what you think of that opinion, whether you like Charlie Kirk or you hated Charlie Kirk for his opinions, everyone has the right to freedom of speech. And the moment we start killing people for what they say, it puts freedom of speech under a direct threat. And look, I thought personally, I love Charlie Kirk. I think he was amazing. I think he spoke the truth. I absolutely admired the guy. Massively huge fan of Charlie Kirk. But, whatever you think, freedom of speech is important. And it seems that we are heading down a very, very dangerous way in this country and across the world as well, in the United States, everywhere, that people who want to speak the truth, they want to speak their mind, they want to give their opinions, that certain groups within our societies don't want them to do that. They want to have them locked up, arrested, killed for having an opinion, and that is wrong. Freedom of speech is absolutely massively important, and Charlie stood for that. And this is a tragic, tragic day, not just for the United States, but for the whole world. A great man was killed for having an opinion, and I just wanted to say that at the start of the podcast. And look, I'm sorry if you didn't like that, but that's how I feel this morning. That needed to be said for him, for Charlie, to Erica and his children. My thoughts, my prayers are with you. I know nothing can take away your pain at this difficult time, but God bless you all. Right, let's talk all things Rangers. Let's talk Niko Raskin. Let's talk the upcoming game against Hearts. Let's look ahead to the game. Right, look. Let's start with the big topic, obviously, the Niko Raskin story. It has run and run. It has been debated. It has been discussed. Sides have been taken in this great debate. You're either a pro-Raskin, pro-Martin, or you just actually don't give a shit. But you know what? It seems that from what is being reported in the media this morning, that Raskin has been welcomed back into the fold, and he will be part of the matchday squad for the game against Hearts on Saturday. Now, look, I don't know whether or not he will start. I don't know whether or not he will play a part on Saturday, but he is apparently back in the matchday squad. Now, whether you think the way that Niko Raskin went about things, whether you think the way that Niko Raskin said things, I don't know. You may not like the way he did it. And personally, I think he did the right thing. He spoke out. He had an opinion. Quite apt on a day like today, isn't it? He is a little bit hot-headed, but as I've mentioned before, great footballers, top talented footballers tend to be a little bit hot-headed. They tend to have a little bit of extra character about them. You've only got to look at the likes of Gaza, for example, to see that's the case. Now, I think, Raskin is by far our best player. I mean, I think there's little dispute that this man is one of the best players we have in this squad. He's a guy who's attracted EPL interest, a guy who's attracted interest right from across Europe, a guy who plays for one of the top national teams in world football. I mean, Belgium is a top 10 ranked nation. And he plays very well for them. He helps them to control games. He plays exceptionally well. You've got him playing along the sides of the likes of like Yuri Tielemans, Kevin De Bruyne, Jeremy Doku, who are some of the best midfielders around at this moment in time. And Kevin De Bruyne waxing lyrical about him the other day. And Kevin De Bruyne, this is a guy who knows a footballer. He's played with some of the very best in the world at Manchester City. So, there's no doubting Niko's talent. And I think for me, having Niko back in will absolutely massively enhance this squad. Now, I hope and I pray that the manager shows some common sense. Do I think he will? No, I don't. Let's face it, I don't actually have a lot of faith in Russell Martin. I really genuinely don't. But, if you actually say, and you look at Raskin and you look at his performances towards the end of last season, which, credit to Barry Ferguson for getting the best out of him. he performed admirably well. He was outstanding. He was absolutely brilliant in that six role. He was probably the best six in Scotland, probably one of the best sixes in Europe at that point. And, you've only got to look at the way he dominated a lot of the games in Europe and controlled and ran the games in Europe to see the influence he can have. Now, I think anyone with half a brain, if they look at it and they see, right, I've got a direct choice here between either starting Joe Rothwell as a six or starting Raskin as a six, you start Raskin in that role every single day of the week. You do not. I don't get how anybody who is remotely sensible, who is remotely, has half a brain, could want to start Rothwell ahead of Raskin. Raskin brings energy. His passing range is excellent. He can keep going for 90 minutes. His fitness levels are excellent. And what for me is the biggest proof is that Raskin has done it on the biggest stages. He's done it when it matters. He's done it when the pressure's on. He's done it when he's under pressure. He scored that goal at Parkhead last season, performed admirably well in the Old Firm game, which we know is a game of huge pressures, huge energy levels, and Raskin did it there. He did it away in Turkey against Fenerbahce. Again, high pressure, high tensity situation. He comes out, he performs, he's outstanding. So to me, you've got to be putting Raskin in there on Saturday against Hearts. There is literally no debate on this. He is match fit. We know that. He's shown that for Belgium. The other day, he got his goal. He played outstandingly well. Having Raskin back is massive. It is massive. And, as long as Russell Martin manages him in the right way, and hopefully Russell Martin's kind of grown up a little bit, developed a pair, and actually sort of behaved like a real football manager rather than like a little petulant toddler, and actually decided to manage his players based on how they need to be managed rather than this one size fits all, I'm the boss, you will do as I say approach, which doesn't work anymore. And, you can go back, yes, and say it worked in the past, Sir Alex, Brian Clough, etc., but football's moved on. Football's changed since those days, and I would actually strongly suggest that, to be honest with you, in this modern day and age, the Sir Alex way of doing things and the Brian Clough way of doing things wouldn't work. In dressing rooms today with the power that footballers have. And look, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, footballers do have more power than the club, more power than the manager these days. You've only got to look at the Isak situation, the Visa situation, the Gyökeres situation to see how much power footballers actually have. So, each player needs to be dealt with in a situation in a different way, and hopefully that Martin's learnt that. He'll now know how to deal with Niko, how to get the best out of Niko. And we'll hopefully start to see now Niko integrated back into the team, playing. For me, like I said, he is the best player in this team by an absolute street. I would give him the armband. I genuinely would make him captain for the rest of the season. I'd strip Tav of the captaincy. I think, Tav is probably one of the worst captains in this club's history. A player that doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. A player that is massively overrated for what he is. I would certainly give Raskin the armband. He's more of a leader. I think, when Raskin captained the side last season, we showed a much better passion, a much better heart, a much better fight. There was better leadership on the field, and I think that's one thing that has actually been lacking from this Rangers team over recent weeks, over these certainly the games we've drawn domestically. Is there's been an absolute lack of leadership. People can say, well, Tav's been out of the team. Well, even when Tav's been in the team, he has not showed leadership. He's never showed leadership. He's never, ever been a captain. He's never been a leader. And people come back at me and they say, yeah, but look at all the managers that have given him the captaincy. They know better than you, Owen. Well, yeah, but where have all those managers ended up? All end up getting the sack. All end up losing their jobs because of a lack of leadership on the pitch. Is one of the factors. Not the only factor, but it's one of the factors. And who's the leader on the pitch? It's called logic, guys. You can't argue with logic and facts. But for me, Raskin should be captain. Raskin should be leading this side, I believe, going forward for the rest of the season. And I honestly believe if we did, we'd have a lot better situation, a lot better leadership on the pitch, and we'd have a lot better results with Niko Raskin on there. But I certainly hope that now that this has been put to bed, that it stays put to bed for the rest of the season, and that he stays part of this squad long term. And he is still obviously a Rangers player at the end of the season. I do think we will lose him at the end of the season because he'll only have 12 months left on his deal. But, Niko appears to have the heart and the bottle for the fight. Let's get him out there and let's get him fighting for Rangers. That's got to be what we do. That's got to be the way we do things. Right, let's deal with some unfortunately bad news for the club. Look, we all know that there's a lot going on, in terms of UEFA and the banners and the fireworks and the pyro and all that. There's a lot going around about that. And last season, obviously, we got the fine for that banner, the non-racist, non-offensive political banner that was put up. That genuinely, I still to this day don't know how anyone could have found it offensive, or anyone could actually have. Well, apart from Patrick Stewart, who is just a woke joke, as all woke people are. But I think he is. This is again a situation where the club could be in trouble. Now, Rangers have been fined £17,291 and given, which is not a lot realistically, is it? I mean, not for a football club. I mean, if you and me got that fine, it'd be the end of the world. But for a football club, it's not a lot. And it's a very random amount as well. I mean, how do you arrive at £17,291? I mean, to me, especially that £91 at the end seems very random. They've been given a suspended supporter ban as well by UEFA after the lighting of fireworks during last month's Champions League playoff defeat by Club Brugge. The incident took place in the second leg of the tie, in which Rangers lost, obviously. UEFA say Rangers could be banned from selling tickets to its away supporters for the next UEFA match competition. But this measure is suspended during a probationary period of 2 years, starting from the date of the present decision. Obviously, we will play in the Europa League now. Now, in the past, obviously, Rangers have issued bans and lifetime bans to those responsible for the banner that was put out, which I think is a disgrace that the club have done that. Banning someone for life for a banner that was nothing wrong with it at all is just pathetic, and I think it shows the way that the club is being run by Patrick Stewart is just the wrong way. And the sooner Patrick Stewart is chased from this club, the better. The man is an embarrassment. But, at the end of the day, this is not good news. This is really not good news for the club. It is not good news for the supporters. As I've said on a number of occasions, look, I have no issue at all with banners. At the end of the day, I think the tifos, the banners, are all part of what is bar football. It's what supporters do to show support. And I think, yes, there is a line with those banners. The moment you start getting to be racist or anything like that, that is disgusting and disgraceful and has no place in football. But certainly nothing that the Union Bears or anyone has done to this point has crossed the line. Police Scotland have said as much. Police Scotland have come out and said that there was nothing wrong with that banner about the boats or whatever it was about. I can't even remember now. There's the woke ideologies. There was nothing wrong with that. There was nothing wrong with the Target the Rebel Scum banner. Police Scotland have said that it doesn't break the law. So if it's not breaking the law, then there's nothing wrong with it. The moment it crosses that boundary, then yes, there is something wrong with it. But as I've said before, the taking of fireworks into a football ground, the lighting of fireworks in a football ground, I think is just absolutely stupid and idiotic. I think if you're taking fireworks into a football stadium, you are putting in danger not only yourself, but the people around you. You are placing an explosive device into a stand which is packed with people. If you lose control of those pyros, you lose control of those fireworks, you can burn someone, and those burns could be for life. Those scars could be for life. It could end up being a child that gets hurt. You've also got the smoke that comes from those. There's an increasing number of people suffering from asthma and other breathing issues at this moment in time. You're forgetting the impact that can have. So, look, if you are one of those supporters that thinks it's clever to take fireworks into a ground or pyros into a ground, whatever you want to call them, then I'm sorry, you are an absolute moron. You are absolute idiot. And there's nothing in that that's about freedom. It is just putting in danger not only the lives of other people and the safety of other people, but the safety of yourself, and also the right of our fans to follow our club abroad. And you're going to put a situation where if you do this again during a UEFA competition, that the next away game that we have, no Rangers fans will be there. And, you've only got to know that obviously the fans that follow the club away are exceptionally passionate. They make a hell of a lot of noise. The players love the support they give, and it helps the players. And I think, again, you're disadvantaging the team. Now, if you're disadvantaging the team, then stop. Please stop. Please stop doing it. Because it's dangerous, it's idiotic, it's ridiculous, and it needs to stop now. It really, genuinely does. Right, so we've got Hearts this weekend. It'll be a tough match, as I've said on a number of occasions. Hearts are a decent side. Derek McInnes has got them playing some very, very good football. He's obviously got them playing some good attacking football. They're not particularly great defensively, which could bode well. It could be a high-scoring game this weekend at Ibrox, especially given the fact that Rangers can't defend to save their lives either. Obviously the big talking point will be what part will these two play on Saturday. Obviously, two new signings that came in on transfer deadline day. Derek Cornelius, the Canadian defender, and Youssef Chimiti, the striker, signed for $8.5 million from Everton. If we start with Cornelius, Cornelius scored an absolutely amazing free kick for Canada in a qualifier during the weekend. If you've seen it, absolutely banging free kick from a defender as well. That's pretty top quality. If a defender can do that, what's next? But absolutely superb from Derek Cornelius. Looks a decent defender, looks a very good prospect. And I think, especially given the fact that our defence has been so weak over, weeks. Yes, we got that draw with Celtic, but at the same point, I do think that we do need to obviously strengthen the defensive area, and I think bringing in someone like Cornelius, starting him, I think would have a good and major impact. So I'd certainly be in favour of starting him. I think this is a player we need to see what we've got in. I know it's a loan. I think there's an option to buy in there, so hopefully that's something that gets followed through if he's up to the talent. But yeah, I would certainly be playing him. And I'd actually go with a different defensive formation, and I'll speak about that in a minute, how I'd line up on Saturday. I don't think Russell Martin will have the balls to do it, but hey, we'll have a little look in a short while. The other, obviously, is Youssef Chimiti, the high-price striker. Look, he is obviously coming in with a large price tag. There are obviously, including from myself, severe doubts over him as a player. His goal-scoring statistics are not great. He will be in the squad. I think that's a definite. He'll definitely be in the squad. He's obviously had time to work with the team now. He's had time to work with the squad, with the manager, since he's moved. There's obviously the fact that Rangers have paid £8.5 million for him, says that they've got big faith in this young man, that they think that he's going to be an important part of the team, and then he can actually have an impact for us going forward. So, I certainly hope that we do see him. I certainly hope that he gets on the pitch and he does well. Now, I don't think he'll start. I think they'll go with Bojan Miovski, because, obviously Miovski was signed more recently. He played really well against Celtic. He's obviously got minutes for North Macedonia. He's obviously had more training sessions now with the club. So hopefully we'll see the best of him. And obviously as well with Miovski, that you're getting someone who is Scottish Premier League proven. This is a guy who's scored goals in the Premier League. This is a guy who's got goals in the Premier League. So I do think he will start, but hopefully Youssef Chimiti will get a part to play on Saturday against Hearts, and obviously that's an interesting debate on what role he will play. I certainly think that he may get 20 minutes, half an hour near the end, perhaps taking Miovski off. I think maybe we'll see 60 to 65, 70 minutes of Miovski, and then half an hour, 20 minutes of Chimiti near the end of the game. That is my thoughts on that one. Look, guys, I'd love to know your thoughts. Look, I know that he's coming in, and I know his statistics are not the best, but we've got to kind of reserve judgment on the lad, see how he gets on, see how he plays for Rangers. And obviously, he's got big shoes to fill. Obviously, Hamza's left. Hamza, I think, has been fantastic for Lille since he's moved. Also scored for Morocco the other night. They just show that there was some short-sightedness within the Rangers managerial room on that one. Right, in terms of the team that I would pick, I'd be tempted to change formation. I really would. Either go 4-4-2 or 3-5-2. The only reason I'd go 3-5-2 is it gives us three centre-backs. It gives us a more perhaps defensive situation where we can perhaps be a bit more solid defensively. Something that we've kind of lacked in recent times. And I think that's something we do. Obviously, Jack Butland would be in goal for me. John Suter back to right side centre-back. Now, John's had an awful lot of criticism this season. But I think, you're judging John unfairly. John is a left side, not a left side centre-back. John is a right side centre-back. That's where John is best played. And I think, people can talk, centre-back should be able to play anywhere. Well, okay, to some degree, yes, you're correct on that one. They should be able to play anywhere. But, they have a natural side where they're more comfortable. And the fact that John Suter is right-footed means that he's more comfortable towards the right side. I'd put Manny Fernandez in the middle and put Cornelius to the left. Manny Fernandez, the big old dude, stick him in the middle, block the middle up. Cornelius to the left then. I'd go with Raskin and Barron in front of the back three because I think they can link the defence and midfield. But not only that, Raskin can break on, Barron can break on. But when we're defending, they can drop back in to make a back five, rock solid back five. They can drop back into the full-back positions. They can drop back into the back three, however you want. Raskin for me would be the captain as well. I'd make him the captain. I don't think Martin will do that for a minute, but Raskin obviously I think would be the metronome. He'd be the leader. He'd be the time tick. He'd be the quarterback of that team that would direct things. Barron I think starts because he was absolutely outstanding against Celtic. He was my man of the match in the Old Firm. I think he has to play. Thelo Asgard, to me, I'd put him in. He scored 4 for Norway. That's right, came off the bench and scored 4 for Norway the other night. So he's clearly banging form. Let's get him in the team and see what he can do. Finlay Curtis wide right. Ant-Man has been shit. I don't want to see Tav in the team. The only place I want to see Tav is at home on the sofa watching the game for the rest of the season. I want to see Finlay Curtis. He's a class act. He's been brilliant. Whenever he's come on, he's never let the club down. He's shown heart. He's shown fight. He's shown bottle. He's shown impact. He's scored goals. To me, put Finlay Curtis in there. Gassama to the left, and that'll be my 5 in midfield. I'd then want to see Miovski and Danilo up front. I'd start with Danilo, and the reason I'm putting Danilo upside Miovski is Miovski's U9. Miovski's the player who's going to run off the back 4 or the back 3 of Hearts. He's the guy who's going to run in behind, cause the difficulties. But Danilo is the guy who can drop off. He can go and play that 10 role a little bit, link with Asgard, cause the back 4 a few problems, not stay static up the top. Danilo, for me, is not a number 9. He's more a 10 or a 9.5. He's not an out-and-out striker. He's someone who I think you get the best of him when he drops off and when he can create. And he did that for Feyenoord well. He did that for Ajax well. Give him a chance to do that. And go with 2 up top. Try something a little bit different. Try something with a little bit of extra there. So for me, that would be my starting 11. If I was picking the team, now you may think, thank God you don't pick the team, Owen. That's a dreadful team. Now, the other thing I mentioned was possibly going with a 4-4-2. Now, if you went with a 4-4-2, I would go with Butland in goal. I'd go with a back 4 of Aarons, Suter, Cornelius and Magoma as a back 4. Midfield 4, I'd go with Finlay Curtis wide right, Niko Raskin in the midfield alongside. Probably I would go there with Thelo Asgard, with Raskin sitting. I know Barron's been brilliant, but if you're going to slim the midfield down, Asgard, you need somebody slightly more attacking in there. Raskin as the captain. Left side, Gassama. Give Gassama that freedom to attack, give him the freedom to go and create. He's a very talented footballer. And again, go with Danilo and Miovski up front. Try something different. This 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, it's so formulaic. Everyone uses it. And it's getting a bit boring now. It's getting to the point where teams figure out the 4-3-3. Teams figure out the 4-2-3-1 quite easily. So to me, I would try something different. Have a little bit of courage. Have a little bit of, independence there. And go and obviously try something new. Try something that is obviously a little bit different. And try something that is going to cause Hearts a few problems. Hearts been preparing to face us playing 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. They weren't been preparing for us to play a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-1-2 or a 4-4-2. Give them something else, to think about. Give us something else to, to give the fans something to get excited about. Put 2 up top, cause problems. I grew up watching Rangers teams with likes of Haitley and McCoist up top, for example. I mean, how great was that? Big man, little man. But, I'm not saying we're going to go back to that. But, 2 up top, there's something a bit more exciting about that. Causes a few more problems. And certainly, in the SPL where, you come up against the low block a little bit more often. Give the defence more to worry about. Give the defence a bit of a challenge. Go a bit old school. Russell Mine, have your Mike Bassett moment. Sit there. Rangers will be playing 4-4-2 and then walk out, storm out. Do your Mike Bassett impression. I'd love to see it. My respect for the man would go up if he did a Mike Bassett. It really, really would. Guys, what do you think? Let me know. What formation would you go with? What is your team for the game against Hearts? How would you line up? Well, I'm going to finish off with a bit of a sad note this morning. Obviously, news this morning that Rangers legend Graham Roberts has revealed that he is battling prostate cancer. Very, very sad indeed. He's undergoing treatment. And, look, as someone who understands and knows what cancer does to families, obviously I lost my mum to cancer in May of this year, and it's something that I still, find exceptionally difficult to this day. And it still really badly affects me now. But, cancer is a horrible disease. It's an absolutely horrible illness. And, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemies. I really wouldn't. It's a horrific illness. So, look, we wish Graham Roberts a speedy recovery. We hope that he gets well soon. We hope that, obviously, that the treatment is successful. And we see this Rangers legend back at Ibrox very, very soon. I love Graham. I love the passion that he brought, the aggression that he brought. And let's face it, who can forget him singing and directing, him getting involved in singing the sash and things like that. Yes, a little bit misguided. But look, at the end of the day, he's a legend. He's a quality. He's a brilliant man. And he's obviously got the respect of other fans around the world. Spurs fans obviously massively respect Graham Roberts too. So Graham Roberts, wishing you a very speedy recovery from everyone here at Glasgow Rangers Nation. Guys, thank you for watching. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, as always, here on GRN. We wish you all the very best. Guys, stay together. Catch you soon.